Today on Affordable Backyard Projects,
I'm going to show you how to make a simple dining room chair. And the measurements I'm going to use here is for one chair, but I actually made 4 in this video. But I'm going to start with a 2x4. I'm going to cut 2 at 37 inches and 2 at 17 inches. And this will be the front and the back legs of the chair.
Alright, so next we're going to start on working on the rear chair legs. Now it looks a little confusing, but it's really not that difficult. First, we're going to find the dead center, which is going to be 1 3/4 here. We're going to do that on both ends. And then next, we're going to go up 18.5 inches from the bottom to the middle here. We get 18.5. So we'll take our speed square here just to give us a nice, easy line to look at here. And then next, now that we have our center, we're just going to drive a line all the way up to the center here. Nice straight line. Now this part, it's a little different. What we're going to do is we're going to go from this center line to this corner here. Just line that up nice and even. And just draw this nice angled line all the way to the top here. You kind of see that curvature there. And then next, we're going to go from this edge to this center mark up here. And we're just going to get the same line here. Make sure it's nice and centered. And just get that line all the way down. Here, you can kind of see we'll have a curve on the back. Now one more thing I forgot to mention was I'm going to put a couple X's here just so I remember which side I'm actually cutting off. So we'll actually keep this inner line here. I'm going to have X's to show where we need to next cut. We're going to grab this 2x4 here. That was 17 inches. And we're going to cut it and rip it right in the middle here. And this will be for the 2 front legs of the chair. So the first thing I want to do, I already got it set up, but I just want to show you here. I'm going to set this 1 3/4. And 1 3/4 again is going to be half. Safety first, buddy. Yeah, take those eyes of yours. There you go. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 1x10 and it's actually a 2x10, and we're going to rip it down to 9 inches. So we're just going to measure this, adjust this out to the inside of the blade. We're going to show us 9 inches right there. Now that we ripped that down to 9 inches, next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to kind of give a cut on this, just about an 1/8 inch, so just give a nice clean cut. And after that, we're going to cut 2 for each chair at 18 inches each. Alright, next what we're going to do is I'm going to drill 3 pocket holes to put these together for the seat. And I'm actually going to be using the Craig jig. This is R3. This is one of the best products, just making simple holes for pocket holes. It's real simple, and as you know, we've been using the drill, the DeWalt drills. They've been one of the better ones I've been using as just personal home use. If you want any information about some of the tools or products we're using, I'll put a link in the description. That way you can kind of look it up and see what all it is. But it's real easy. I'm going to go ahead and I have my depth set to 3/4. So it's 3/4 here, and I'm going to go ahead. Get a nice even layer there. I might like glue on the fingers, but oh well. And I am using 1 1/4 screws here. Alright, next we're going to take this 2x2 and we're going to cut out 5 at 14 inches for bracing. Next, we're going to grab these 1x3s and we're going to cut 4 at 14 inches. to take these 14-inch pieces that I just cut off, and I'm going to use this Craig jig bit again to be able to get some pocket holes in there. I'm going to put 2 on each end and 1 in the middle. Alright, so I'm going to measure from the bottom up on these larger feet here. I'm going to go all the way up to 17 inches. Just put a little mark there. Same thing on this other one here. From the bottom all the way up to 17 inches. And then from these, from the bottom up, I'm going to do 3 inches, these front legs. There we go. And then also on this bottom one here, we're going to do 3 inches as well, this long one. Just like that. So I'm going to grab my back brace here and a front leg, and I'm using a 1/4 inch of plywood here just so I can kind of have the same lift off the edge here all the way around. So I'm just going to mark up with that 17-inch mark I just made a minute ago. And I want to make sure that I use a little bit of glue here. And I want to make sure that the long side is facing outwards and the short side is up. Mentions, make sure that the screw hole is pointing upwards, and that'll come important whenever we put that seat on. Alright, so now that we finished this one, I'm going to move this one out of the way. But I do want to make sure that when I set this one up that it's opposite. You want to make sure that the pocket holes are on the inside, this is pointing up, and it'll pretty much just mirror with the one we just made here. So next for the seat, I'm going to plop it up here while you kind of get a visual of what's going on. We're going to try to have a little bit of overhang on each side here, but to be able to cut the notch out, what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 2 inches wide. So make a little mark here for 2 inches. And then we're going to measure 1 3/4 deep. So 1 3/4 deep here. Mark on this side if you leave it for me. 1 3/4 deep here. And I'm just going to get my trusty speed square here and just give me a nice straight line to go off of. And the same thing for over here. And I'll just repeat that on the same side. I'm just going to use a jigsaw here to cut out this square. Alright, so next what I'm going to do is what's called a screw and dowel method. To start with is I'm going to do 3 3/4 up. So 3 3/4. Put a mark there, about center. Same thing on this other side, 3 3/4. And if you notice, I have the chair on its front right now, kind of. And I set this up about 1 inch up here. Put a little stopper there. And this comes with that Craig jig set we've been using. Two of them here, there should be the 14-inch boards. And I'm just going to go dead center of them, which should be 7 inches. Already got those 3-inch marks that I did earlier. And I'm going to make sure that this hole is actually on the outside. With this being right in the middle of this hole we drilled. I'm going to 2.5-inch wood screws here. And put this mark and this mark just dead center of the board. I went ahead and sanded this some, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to glue this yet, because I'm going to take it back off to stain it whenever I paint. But I want it on here, just kind of show how it fits, and also on this other chair here. And I'm gonna put a couple screws in here. That way I can make sure when I do my measurements, I'm gonna use 1.25 inch screws here, these pop screws. The next thing I'm gonna do is grab my 1x3. I'm gonna cut 3 at 11 inches here. Alright, now we're going to work on that backrest or back brace here. And we got these 14-inch pieces that we've been using throughout. And we also have these 11-inch pieces, these 3 that we just cut out a few minutes ago. And what we're going to do here is we're going to measure 1 inch and 5/8 from the edge here. Put a little mark there, 1 inch 5/8. Do the same thing on the other side here, 1 inch and 5/8. And we're just going to go ahead and measure dead center, which should be 7 inches. And I'm just going to go ahead and measure center of this, which would be 1.25 inches, so I can line it up properly. And so what we're going to do first is go ahead and glue the edges here. And I have again this 1/4 inch piece. This kind of gives me, this kind of keeps it from being flat. Gets right in. First thing I'm going to do is get this 1 inch and 5/8 and just line it perfectly up. And as you can see, we got that gap on both sides there. And I'm just going to take my 2-inch nails here. And now with this middle one, again we got that 7-inch mark, and we got this dead center mark here. And just same thing, line up. Take another nail. Alright, and last one. Line up on my 1 inch and 5/8 mark. Make sure it's lined up perfect. Hold it good. Oh, and make sure you keep your fingers away. I already got my 1 inch and 5/8, 1 inch 5/8, and 7 inches here. So all I have to do is the same thing. I want to make sure I glue first, so always remember to glue. Alright, now I got that glue on there. Back bracing, ready to go. All right, now that we have this built, next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure up from the seat here. We're going to measure up 3 3/4, 3 3/4. Try to get in the center of the board here, and then from the top down, we're going to measure 2 1/4, kind of the center of the wood there. And then what we're going to do, take our drill again. We've got about 1 inch depth here. These holes with this inch depth here, we're going to talk about the screw and dowel method. Now we're going to show you how we're going to cover these holes up. So you got your 3/8 inch dowel rod here. What we're going to do, we're going to grab our glue and just kind of put a little bit of glue on there. We're just going to kind of drag that in here. Take our jigsaw, and what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of cut this as flush as we can. So I noticed I had a few like cracks here and some holes up here from the finish nail gun. So let's go ahead and put some wood filler in there.
Thanks for watching my video here, and I hope you liked it and possibly learned something new. But if you would, check out my channel, subscribe, and I'll try to put up some more videos. And you'll see some of the other videos I made. And I try to do projects that are simple, that are affordable, and stuff that uses fairly simple tools that you can do in your own backyard.